Blah, blah, blah.
It's that time of year again, my little creatures of the night. The fall leaves are beginning to color the clouds, fill the sky in a haze of gray. The wind gently travels along the ground like a phantom gust. Unless you're in California. Like me.
How is this fall?
The ever-looming threat of climate change aside, it's Halloween once again, and Shelf-O-Ween has risen from the grave to bring you more weekly uploads, I promise, of grotesque delight. But what am I gonna do this year? Those familiar might ask. Another movie marathon? Hell no, damn near killed me last time. Now that was more of an endurance test anyway. No, this year we're moving away from the reels of cinema, and instead moving on to the paneled pages of comic books. I've made it known that I enjoy comics. Hell, most of the posters on my wall that's out of frame right now are from comic book grab bags. Though I've only made a couple videos on this channel about comics, one of which is still waiting for part 2, there is a comic series that I've been actually collecting on my own time, issue by issue, for over a year now. We have 4 completed comic runs here, and another one that, by the time this video is posted, only has 2 issues released. I still plan on talking about it though, but that's not for a while now. For the first installment of Shelf-O-Ween 2, we are going to kick off the Universal Monster comic book series with Dracula. Appropriate, Skybound's first story in their Universal Monsters series would be the first story that kicked off the Universal Monsters as a whole. This version of the Prince of Darkness was created by James Tynion IV, who co-created the brilliant Something is Killing the Children, and illustrated by Martin Simmons, who worked with James before on the Department of Truth, and writer Joe Hill on Dying is Easy. And let me tell you that Martin did not sleep on this book. Inside these pages are some of the most disturbed, grimy, sickening, beautifully gothic imagery I've ever seen in a comic book. It's like the oil paintings of a madman. Muddy colors laid to canvas in a cavalcade of insanity, as though the book itself is being illustrated by one of the inmates of Seward's Asylum. Looking at the gallery at the end of the hardcover edition, I'd frame some of these on my wall. They're so gorgeously disturbed. The character design in this book borrows from the Universal film in some aspects, but with touches that make them feel their own and new. But my favorite design of all has to be Renfield. Oh my god. That is fucked. In the best possible way. I don't care if he looks like someone threw Jeff the Killer and Spencer Carnez into a blender. He is haunting. He looks like a phantom, like Dracula drained him to the point of near death, like he lost so much blood that his pigmentation started to fade. You can tell just from looks alone, this man is a literal ghoul. So how does James Tynion adapt this book? Does he retell the story following closer to Bram Stoker's novel? Or does he just simply graphic novelize the 31 film, much like how they did with Batman and the Punisher? Actually, neither. Instead of simply readapting the book or the movie, we have a story that sort of acts as an expansion on the movie. What I mean by that is, the book is a story that follows what the characters in the film did in between scenes. Like everyone discussing their impressions of Dracula after leaving the opera house, or how Dr. Stewart met Dr. Van Helsing for the first time. So it does follow the story of the film, but at the same time is something completely original and new. This book is a goddamn Zen riddle. Dare I say it gives the already iconic characters from the movie more depth? Like how it goes deeper into Lucy's morbid fascination with gruesome topics, and Dr. Seward's dismissal and straight-up distaste for Van Helsing. But, once again, my favorite moment comes from Renfield. There's a moment where Mina, after sneaking into Renfield's cell looking for answers, shows him kindness and sympathy. So when Dracula lets it be known to him that he plans on making Mina his bride, he begs and pleads with him not to do it, to not damn the soul of the only person who has shown him kindness. Renfield, in my eyes, is kind of the main character of the story in a sense. He's the first character we meet and has the most compelling story arc in the book. There's a moment where after receiving several blood transfusions, he starts to regain fragments of his humanity. He questions his loyalty to Dracula as well as if Dracula would even keep the many promises he made to him if he stayed loyal. Only for Dracula to show up and deliver him rats to feed on. An act that sadly rejuvenates his faith. Renfield in the movie was already a fairly sympathetic character. We feel bad for him since we see him as a poor soul corrupted by the higher evil of Dracula. But in the book, Renfield's story is far more tragic. He started to regain his senses, to break free of Dracula's control, only to get sucked back under his influence with another indulgent damn promise. Speaking of Dracula, I haven't started talking about him at all yet. So how is he handled in the book, you may say? Like every other aspect of this book, not in the way you'd expect. Now, back in 1931, Universal couldn't actually show Dracula attack somebody, so Dracula's victims are merely counted in passing, or when he's about to feed on somebody on screen, either his cape blocks the shot, or the film fades away before we can see anything. And what has this book established it likes to do? To show you parts of the movie you didn't get to see. We see Dracula feed. We see Dracula transform into a bat or a wolf. We see the full extent of Dracula's otherworldly powers, beautifully presented by Simmons' chaotic illustrations. But it's the structure of showing us what we didn't see that leads to another interesting aspect of the book. Dracula never speaks. From the first page of the book to the moment Dracula gets staked by Van Helsing, he doesn't utter a peep. The only time he spoke was when he screamed Van Helsing's name before he was vanquished. But at the end of the day, it kinda makes sense. The times Dracula needed to speak were in the movie. Everything that follows is him operating without his facade of class, his mask of sophistication. It's through the book we see Dracula as he truly is. A monster. A wild animal in the shape of a man. In a way, he reminds me less of Lugosi's Dracula and more of Christopher Lee's Dracula. Both are iconic, but both films show a different side of the same coin. Lugosi shows Dracula's distinguished side, while Lee's shows his animalistic, almost silent serial killer side. Dracula in this book is more of a presence than a character. It gives off a feeling that he's looming over you with every page turn. The art style showing the corruption as the pages seem to become more filthy the longer Dracula's presence is felt in England. He might not be seen a whole lot throughout the book, but it's more about how Dracula affects the other characters. Like how he essentially discarded Renfield until he sensed his loyalty starting to wane and immediately sucked him back under his thumb. How Dr. Seward is working himself down to the bone trying to not just cure Renfield, but Dracula's other victims as well. How Mina was completely devastated by Lucy's death, which sent her on her own investigation, which sent her right into Dracula's crosshairs. In conclusion, Skybound's Dracula is a fascinating partner piece to the 31 movie. It gives the already classic cast of characters more emotional depth, has gorgeously macabre artistic style, is surprisingly well woven as a story considering the angle James wanted to take, and has possibly my favorite adaptation of Renfield outside of Dwight Frye's original performance. If you are a fan of the Universal monsters like myself and haven't gone out and purchased this book, what the fuck are you even doing? Go out there and get it, you fucking mook. This concludes the first episode of Shelf-O-Ween 2 Electric Spookaloo. Join me next week as we leave the foggy streets of London for the dark waters of the Amazon. Till next time.